Welcome to the Relationship Cycle with Jorge and Nelsa, where we discuss dating and other significant relationships.
Good evening, good evening.
Hello, hello. How's it going, Poppy?
Ladies, how we doing?
Amazing, amazing. So only one lady right now, but our guest, who is a lady, is coming right up. And just wanted to kind of catch everybody up. Hopefully you enjoyed the lost episode last week, our very first um, podcast that was put on a different account, but we were able to still save it and bring it to you. So hopefully people enjoyed that, and likewise hopefully people will enjoy tonight's episode. Let's talk about sex, baby.
Let's talk about sex, baby.
All right, let's talk about you and me. I was like, the songs we sung. Look, you had the nerve to fuss about kids and what they listen to, but tonight we're not going to sing about it, but we do want to talk about it with our guest, and we're going to bring her right on in. But until she gets here, we're bringing on Nakimah Clark, who has some very interesting, has a very interesting background and work that she's involved in. And so I'm looking forward to that. So, Jorge, when you're out there on a date, when do you feel like the time to talk about sex is?
You know what?
Oh,
That gets thrown at me a lot, and I always say it depends, and I just go with the flow. There's times where I've been out on numerous dates and we never talk about sex at all.
okay, awesome. But we are going to talk about sex today, Poppy. So let's welcome to the show, Nakimah Clark. Nakimah, thank you for joining us on the relationship cycle with Jorge and Nelsa. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Doing awesome, doing awesome.
Good, good.
Well, Nakimah, we have entitled tonight's show, Let's Talk About Sex. So let's get after it.
All right, all right.
We don't want to keep the people waiting. So tell them a little bit about who you are, what you do, and what got you involved in um, sex, and the profession of trying to help people um, in that particular area.
Okay. Well, to start out with, like Nelsa said, I am Nakimah Clark. I am a certified master sexpert. I am enrolled in, I just got to do some paperwork. In other schoolwork and stuff, but I'm actually working as a certified sexuality coach. So I'm considering like a love coach. But the reason why I got sex has always interested me from a young age. And I'm not sure, it may be because I had endured some trauma as a young girl. And
Mm.
sometimes that could either be good or bad. Well, myself, I looked at it like I had something that men wanted. And it caused me to really explore my sexuality. And I was like heightened. My sexual urges were heightened at a very young age. Nothing to be proud of, but I am transparent, and I just think that's the way. That's why I am who I am today.
Well, and we're not here to blame the victim, of course. I just find that's an interesting statement because most of the time when you find young people, whoever it may be, who have been violated early, either sexually molested or raped or what have you, that is not necessarily the response that you hear. For most people I've ever encountered, it's almost like they start, putting up a wall
Hmm.
around themselves, not even wanting to get involved in a relationship, much less become sexually active again after that point. So um, I feel like you do have a very different story in that area, uh, becoming more exploratory as opposed to freezing that part of your life off. Um, so what what exactly does a love coach do?
Well, I realized that At one point in my life, I thought I loved myself. My self-esteem I thought was high, but I realized that my self-esteem was really low. So what I do as a love coach, I help people to find their love back, to get back into pouring into yourself, doing self-love affirmations, because God put us here for a reason. And I mean, God is love and he made us, so we are love. And I feel that if we don't love ourselves, how can we expect anyone else to love us?
Mm-hmm.
So it
Absolutely.
starts with that. So what I have coached, I haven't coached any men on it, so I've been only coaching females on the self love, and a lot of them has experienced trauma in their younger years, in relationships, whatever it is that has happened to them to make them feel as though they can't find love, they don't deserve love.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I go back to the root. I let them know you were created, so you are loved. You are love. You need to put out in every all your affirmations that I am love. All my relationships are love. You know, you you have to pour into yourself before you can
Mm-hmm.
expect to get anything from anyone. And I'm not saying that if you have a partner that they can't help you, but you need to be able to help yourself first.
I
Absolutely
like
agree
it.
with that.
I think
Mm-hmm.
we're all on board with that. I think that's very gospel. And so, how long have you been doing this? And how do you see that it helps people? Like, what are some examples of what a love coach can provide as far as getting from, point A to point B as far as progression and, to assist and whatnot?
Okay, so I've been doing this. I obtained my Master Sexpert. I am enrolled in the Dr. Rachael Institute. I enrolled in 2019, but never did anything with it. I am a cosmetologist by trade.
Okay.
So these are topics that I've been talking about all my life in the 27 years that I have been licensed as a cosmetologist. So, being that, when women sit in our chairs, we talk about everything.
Right.
So, I've always wanted to be a sexuality coach, a sex coach, love coach since I think it was like around 2006. But the lady I was asking about it, she never gave me she never told me how to become one. I looked up, just didn't know where to start at. Well, I joined the Bedroom Candy Boutique as I joined the Bedroom Candy Company in 2018. Well, I went to my first convention and that's where I met Dr. Rachael. I was like, Lord, that's my sign right there.
Mm-hmm.
So, to answer your question, I really started it once the pandemic hit because I could not do hair anymore. So I was like, let me hit these books and do this
Nice.
because I've already paid for it. It's there. Now this second part, as far as the deeper coaching, that's what I mean. I have to just submit videos and do some more paperwork and book work to it. But Dr. Rachael has us working in it now. She wants us to work in our coaching now. So how I have helped, I can think of a couple clients. One client that comes to my mind, she actually was my very first one. She just felt like she was getting into relationships that were always dead end. And
Mm-hmm.
like it make it to that year mark. Sometimes it didn't even make it there. Now, previous, and she had been physically abused in a relationship. So she was just down on herself. She could not even stand to look in the mirror.
Hmm. Okay.
Wow.
So we had 4 sessions. She received homework because, first of all, we wanted to know. I did not want to bring up any trauma or anything that was hurtful. I basically asked her some of my goal sheet is, I wanted her to describe her goal. Why, you know, why did she want to see me? And basically she was like, she wants to find love and the right love. You know, she wants a partner that's going to love her the way she wants to be loved. And so I had her basically to talk about how does she feel about herself? And if she could describe the best love in the world, how I want her to be vivid and detailed. Like, okay, in my relationship, I want him to come home, hug me, kiss me, give me some intimacy, not only about the physical part of the sex, but we found out she was lacking intimacy
Gotcha.
because in all of her other relationships, the physical act was no problem. It was the intimacy, spending quality time. So I helped her to find her love language
Mm.
That is
because
so powerful. That is very
yes,
powerful because there's people who are grown-ups and have no idea what their love language are, and the disconnect with that. And I actually have listened to the audiobook about love languages, and it's a very powerful book, and I would encourage anyone and everyone to take a listen. It's a long one, but it's worth it.
it is.
However, the benefits is that you can identify how you want to receive love, but also you will learn that oftentimes what the mistake that people do is that they're trying to give love the way they want to receive the love, not the way that their partner
Mm,
can receive love because of their specific love language. And that's where the disconnect and breakdown happens. And that's why people get frustrated, because you may buy your wife or significant other a diamond ring and they're like, oh, thanks. But that's not really their love language.
mm.
Absolutely.
Yes, that is so true, Jorge. I am so glad you brought that up because that is my class that I'm trying to start for couples because I'm seeing that around like the age of 45, most of these couples that I'm targeting have been together for years. Their kids are grown.
Mm-hmm.
They're realizing, do we even love each other anymore? Well, I do this for him or her or them, I do this. However, it's not working. And that's the kicker. And I listened to something, it may sound funny, but it was in the Medea Homecoming movie. I don't know if y'all paid any attention, but Medea said, when you say I do, you need to say I do to several people.
Mm.
Because the person you say I do to at that time, a year later, 6 months later, 7 years, 10 years down the road, they're different. We
Mm,
Mm.
need
True.
different things in our lives at different moments. So that the love language, and that's the basis of it. That is the ground floor that we need to build up from.
Well, that's a good point too that you're talking about. We need to be able to love them at different points because I think for lots of people, um, some people feel like, where's the person I married? And that's such a fallacy to think that people aren't going to grow, that people aren't going to change. And then you wonder why the intimacy is gone because you didn't grow together. You kind of, either one person wasn't prepared to move forward or didn't want to move forward or whatever. The other one did. And so it's difficult to have intimacy when you've grown apart so much that you're virtual strangers. Um, and I think sometimes people want to move so fast into the sexual end of things, especially as you're younger. That feels like how you're connecting to people. But sometimes intimacy, like you said, is more than just the physical nature of a sex act. It's, can we talk to each other when
Mm,
things are hard? Can we talk to each other when one of us has a loss? Can we just hold each other and feel connected from our heartstrings as opposed to, I need that high from an orgasm? And sometimes I have seen in my own life, previously, I was searching for that high, and that feeling that we get, and for a lot of women, orgasm is elusive, and so you feel like something's wrong, first of all with you, or something's wrong with them if you can never get to this enchanted forest that people talk about, this you know real amazing spectacle of fireworks and thunderclouds or whatever, but you have never built up the emotional intimacy or even spiritual intimacy with the person to get to the other side. So in your practice, do you in your sessions, I suppose, with people, do you have practices for them to be able to get emotionally intimate or even intimate with themselves? Like, a lot of people have never even masturbated, or never self-pleasured, or never even taken themselves out on a date, something that simple. So do you have practices for people to do so that they can build intimacy, first with themselves, and then exercises to do with a partner?
Yes, I do. And referencing is as far as I'm just speaking of women right now, but it's a book called Tickle Your Fancy.
Hmm.
That is a great exploratory book to help you, even if you've never masturbated before. You don't know. I mean, you never know what you're gonna like, because 9 times out of 10, our partners are only doing what they've done before. And somebody said, "Oh, I like that,"
Hmm.
or they've looked at shows and
Hmm.
they like, "Oh, I'm gonna try that," or they've read something. Oh yeah, well, let me try that. It's never been someone saying, "Oh yes, I like that. Touch me there." That person that they're with at that time.
Right.
So in order for us to know what we want, and we have the book Tickle His Pickle for males. Uh,
My God,
Sorry.
yes.
That was
that's
So
clever. That's clever.
yes, I mean, this book is designed, I mean, it talks about being pleasured by a partner, the
hmm
Tickle His Pickle book, but it also has a section in that for masturbation. And usually with my couples, if they have trouble, because I just met a couple Saturday night that are dealing with this, basically this issue. The husband has had some cancer, so he's out of the hospital, just has a bag. The wife cannot understand. She's never used a toy before, and she's used to being penetrated by his penis.
hmm
So she said, "Well, I like that." Okay, well, y'all have to come to the realization that at this time his penis is not working. You
Right.
know,
hmm
there is not going to penetrate you. So let's figure out other ways. What can you do? Now she can massage him, and he just wants to shut down because he's feeling like, well, I mean, she's really saying that I don't, but I want his penis. I want the penetration, and he's feeling inadequate, but he's willing to try a toy on her, but her mind is so blocked. So I'm I'm still dealing with what our next session is going to be about. But right now, since this is Pro Touch Month, so I have them massaging each other, massaging him,
hmm
without, and let that build up your oxytocin levels. You
Right.
know, because you become so close with that. And you think about it, once we climax, guess what? It's over.
Right.
Hmm.
It's,
As
I mean,
opposed to prolonging the
yeah,
pleasure. Yeah.
yeah. So, I have talked with some couples to let them know, because sometimes us as women, we may get upset if our male partner does not climax. He does not ejaculate.
hmm
Okay, but it's okay not to. Let
Right.
it
And
build up that. Let it build up that excitement. Keep that excitement going, and it's okay.
now, Nakima, I wanted to touch on a few questions that our
Okay.
listeners sent in when we started to, uh, pretty much promote the podcast that we were going to do today,
Hmm.
and a couple of questions that we kind of want to get your take and feedback on. So, question number one would be, how healthy is poly dating to a relationship that is looking for a spark, in your opinion?
How healthy is poly dating?
Yes.
Okay, so poly dating is okay if all parties are okay with it. You have to be at a good mental state.
Okay.
I mean, jealousy, anything cannot be on the table. This is entering in a whole new realm.
It is.
Yes,
It's a different dynamic because
it is.
there you got more chefs in the kitchen, so
Yes,
communication becomes even that much more important.
exactly. So,
And when you have uh, you know, weak spots or sore
yes,
spots in the relationship, and you're bringing that, expecting somebody else to resolve those issues, I think you're going about it wrong. So,
yes. Yeah, I
um,
don't think that that's not a good idea. And I say that because of the to help to, now maybe if you want to spark it, but if the relationship is already up and down. Now I do know um some swingers personally. They, they're middle age, so they were like, yeah, let's do this, but their relationship is fine. This is something that you have to basically have a contract with each other about. You have the communication is there. Okay, so how far we go? Will you date this person alone, or will we all be together? Are
Right.
we going to see
Put
this
it about
person outside of our relationship individually, or what? You
right.
have to set some boundaries there.
Absolutely. Another question from another listener was, the best advice that you would give for someone to maintain a healthy sex life for couples.
A healthy sex life for couples. First of all, I would say communicate.
mm,
Try new things. Do not have a closed mind.
yeah.
Date often. And I don't mean just when I say date, you set aside time for your partner and you to do something. I mean, it could be in the house. You can have a picnic in your bedroom. Communicate. Myself and my partner, we play little games, and I know he probably and sometimes he probably be like, "Oh God, I hate that she's in class and doing all this," you know,
Yeah, gotta be the guinea pig.
because I'm always pulling out thought provoking questions. Like it was just a question out, was that last week, and it was just on. I mean, we talk about everything. I'm just like, okay, so whatever is trending now is like, what do you think about these women proposing to the men? You know,
Hmm.
Hmm.
I mean, talk about other things. It does not have to be sexual. Just have a great conversation. I am intrigued and turned on by great conversations.
So you're a
I
sapiosexual
am a
then.
sapiosexual. Yes, I am. I didn't realize that until I realized it. Look,
Oh,
but
I think a lot of people are, but they just don't
yes,
realize it.
yes.
Um,
It's just,
Stimulate my
another,
mind. Stimulate my
yeah,
mind. You
it
don't
all
even
starts
realize
there.
it. When you stimulate my mind, that body gonna get stimulated.
hey, listen, I'm gonna throw this out there to the fellas, and a lot of people don't know this, a lot of men don't know this. A woman's biggest sexual organ is her mind.
That's
That's
it.
So if you can stimulate a woman's mind, everything else will fall into place.
well, and
Yeah.
I think we underestimate men in that way. Like so many times, men have been portrayed as just, all they want is to get after it, especially older generations. But this new generation of men, they just don't want to be attacked. They don't want to be.
Mm-mm. Uh,
They want to know that they're appreciated, that you listen to them, that you care about them.
yes.
I mean, I think there's so much of that that's a two-way street now, as opposed to, you know, women having to kind of feel like just lay down and take it like back in the day. I think it's a much more equal.
Yeah. It's equal.
Yeah,
It's equal playing field.
yeah.
And I had to experience something myself. I was in a relationship for off and on for 16 years. Well, one of the times that we broke up was after 7 years. And he told me, he was like, I always compliment you. You never compliment me. And I'm like, oh, I don't. But it's like I remember when I did, and he would like brush it off. So I can say, like a lot of men are hard. They have that hard shell, but they want the same thing that we want. Would you not agree with that, Jorge?
I would think so. I mean, I think, listen, as a man, you definitely want to feel, that you're loved, that you're appreciated,
Mm-hmm.
and those little things like that.
Yes.
Me personally, I love an affectionate woman,
Mm-hmm.
and being a Latino man, like affection in our culture is naturally something that we always do. Like every time I see my aunt or my mom's best friend, she gives me a big hug, I give her a big hug, or we
Mm-hmm.
kiss on the cheek. Man, that's just what we do. But that's because we are very affectionate, and that's just part of our culture. So
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate that and like that in my woman as well.
Yes. And we both like to feel desired,
Hmm.
so in a relationship, that is something that I have found that is lacking, that takes a part of the intimacy. Each party wants to feel desired. You don't want to feel like you're just throwing yourself on your partner, or just like you're taking it. Okay, if I'm washing dishes, walk by, smack me on my butt, or just caress me. I mean, my man could just be laying on the couch and I just walk by and kiss his forehead. You know,
Right.
Hey,
just a
those little
Always,
things matter.
it's
yes.
not always got to be something, uh,
Mm-mm.
dramatic, and you don't always have to wear the black lace. You don't always have to
Mm-hmm.
wear the, I used to have somebody say they prefer just a plain white tee and white undies on a woman.
Uh-huh.
Just being your natural self. And I think now social media has us feeling like we have to be photo ready for every single
Mm-hmm.
thing. And sometimes that dims you down, especially if you don't feel really good about your body, or you don't feel, good about something. I think that's one of the biggest impediments to a good sex life is what's your level of self-confidence,
Mm-hmm.
partner's level of self-confidence, and how well do you accept one another in all your imperfections. Because if I'm getting ragged on about my belly's getting too big, or you know
Yeah.
if you feel like somebody's coming for you, you don't you don't want that. You don't want to be with somebody who makes you feel less desirable than than especially if you already feel some type of way about it.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah,
Jorge,
I mean, I think
that's a
I
question.
think it's definitely something that we have to be mindful, and like what most people, like a lot of people say, right? When you love someone, you love them for their flaws and all.
Exactly.
So that's also something that we have to kind of take the good with the bad in this scenario. But another question that one of our listeners posted was, what are some things that stunts a person's sexual growth, in your opinion, or from the experience of things that you've seen in the past?
Something that starts, a few things that come to my mind at first is a closed mind,
Mm,
some
Hmm.
cultural some cultural barriers. Just like you just said, you were from the Latino descent. Someone could be from, like, say for instance, if maybe y'all are taught that, or the culture is taught that women do not go down on men, right? You do
Hmm.
not,
right.
do not, or no one performs any oral sex.
Right.
That could be a cultural barrier. I mean, that could stunt, because someone else,
Hmm.
if you were with someone outside of you, outside of what you're used to, and you be like, oh no, we can't do that. I
Right.
know, just from me, just being in the South, and from the Southern Baptist, it's
Hmm.
certain things, like as far as even masturbation,
Right.
something like that could hinder you in your relationship, because you can masturbate in front of your partner. That is such that's an eye opener itself.
And
And
it's a
it's not.
very intimate experience. Another thing that I really encourage people to do is showering together. To me, is a
Hmm.
very intimate experience, and it doesn't have to necessarily be sexual, but just the
Hmm.
fact that you're both willing to shower together or help bathe each other, I think is a lot of people oftentimes we've talked about this on the podcast. A lot of people can offer you sex, but a lot of people aren't going to offer you intimacy.
Exactly.
And
Mm-hmm.
and like you just mentioned, doing that in front of your significant other, or bathing together or showering together. I think those are perfect examples of ways to create an intimate moment and to get closer to each other.
Right. And no, and this is the thing too. You don't always know how a person really feels about you based on sex, because you can be hot for somebody and not love somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, I think, like, if all you have with the person is sex, you might have a problem in your relationship or what situationship, whatever it is you're doing.
I like that. I like
Sometimes
that
that's just a
situationship.
situationship. It's not a
Oh hell.
relationship.
Let's not even go down that rabbit hole. That's like another podcast,
Listen,
situationships.
Right. But
I like
I'm
that.
saying, like,
Look.
but if you don't feel anything else beyond let's go get this high together, physically,
Yeah.
if you don't ever get to see them, bathe with you, eat with you, talk to you about their inmost stuff, what do you really have? And so I think that's another sign of, you know, that could be a stunted relationship where,
Mhm.
if that's all we've got left and we're staying together for the kids and the sex, then we might need to renegotiate this relationship, go to a therapist or a coach or do something.
Nakima, let me ask you something.
Uh-huh.
So I used to be married. I'm divorced now, but I have a lot of friends who are married. And my question to you would be, if you are an individual and you are looking to maybe expand or open your marriage or relationship, how does one go about having that conversation? Because in my opinion, that's a very dicey conversation, because if it's only coming from one side, I feel like that could create a lot of tension and maybe even some discontent if
Hmm.
it's a one-sided conversation, and then the other person's like, hey, I'm not up for that, or hey, that's not how I was raised. I was taught to always be with one person and one person only. So I feel like that could be a very dicey situation. So how would you coach someone to maybe go about having those talks, or to even consider something like that?
Very carefully. You just don't want to come out and say, "Hey, let's how about opening our marriage up to someone else, or let's go into this community." Well, you would want to sit down and, like I said at first, because just like you just said, the other partner could feel like, "Oh, am I not enough?"
Hmm.
Yep. Hmm.
Or, "Oh, you just want a free pass to be with someone else."
Right.
No, it's not that. I was listen. So that's basically all in these. We can pretty much Google something, find some articles about it. I would just say let's bring it up, just as a just like
Yeah.
like a question.
What do you think about? Is what I like to lead with.
Yeah, be like, man, be like, guess what? What do you think about this here? I'm pretty sure you can find it. Just pull it up on the phone and say, hey, what are your takes on this?
Oh hell, that sounds like a trap.
Yeah, look, that
I'll be
way.
like, I don't
And
know, baby. I don't know what them people talking about.
Jorge, as long as we don't start with we need to talk. Look, don't start it with we need to talk, ladies
look,
and
Oh
gentlemen.
yeah, don't
man,
don't say we did. Just yeah,
yeah.
just be like, look, oh my goodness, see what are your thoughts? And then I mean, these are like some questions. I have this card game I had. It was like some conversation card games. I'm pretty sure y'all seen them
Hmm.
go across Facebook and YouTube. But it's the Ace Metaphors conversations. I love them. I mean, they have questions like that. And it's like some people would say, I mean, we'll try it. The
Huh.
worst thing you can say is, I mean, just like say for instance, myself. I have been in a relationship where we did swing. Well, I felt like the fact that that's all that we had. I mean, I loved it. However, maybe it was just a fun thing.
Hmm.
And of course, again, with my heightened sex drive, so it was no feelings, nothing like that. And great group of people, you know. Now, and I think that my boyfriend at the time, he did that just to keep me from stepping out. But I wasn't gonna step out. He brought that to my attention. So, and I was like open, okay. I'd never done it before, never even heard of it. So I was like, okay, sounds good to me. But then it became a little bit too much, because I felt like that's all he wanted from me is, hey, go here, go here. And I mean, and it
Oh.
could have been, and again, this was a relationship that it was missing other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want the listeners to be like, oh no, we can't do that. It may not, I mean, it may work for you,
And
but
Nakima, just to piggyback on your comment, so a few episodes ago, we actually did a podcast on the swinger lifestyle, and we actually had a couple who are swingers, and we had a very rich, deep conversation into their dynamic and their experience. And I actually went to a swinger party for my very first time over the summer and got a very interesting experience with it.
good.
And one thing that I tell people, a lot of people have, because a lot of people have reached out to me about that podcast.
Hmm.
And I explained to them, just because you go to a swinger party, that doesn't mean that that you are expected to participate with anyone or everyone. You could go to a swinger party and literally just have fun and play with your partner. So it's not, I feel like a lot of people have this misconception that if you go to a swinger party, okay, now you're going to be you have to be part of this orgy or else. Like, it's not
No.
like that.
Mm.
But a lot of people have that misconception, whether it be because of things they hear or because of what they see on, media or videos or
Mm-hmm.
whatever the case may be. But I was at a party before, with my first experience, and there were people there who just kind of hung out and took the ambiance in, or they were just hanging out with their partner.
Because you know what? Just by being there, that helps their relationship. And like the couple that called in early, I mean, that asked the question earlier. Now they could do that just to peek in and see if just that excitement of seeing others hugging and kissing on each other, if that will if that will move them to doing
Yeah.
it.
Make a little bit of voyeurism.
Yeah, yes, yes. I mean, I remember my first one. It was like four couples in a room, and they all we all where look they were we was the fourth couple, but the other three, they were with their own partners. And just by watching them, it will get you aroused and get you back. I mean, that could be the best sex that you would ever have, just because in the back of your mind you're seeing all of them, and when you and your partner get together, now those fireworks may come.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you one thing, and one thing that I've learned from that experience and from attending an event like that, in that world, confidence is everything.
Yes.
And that is one thing that I have really, really picked up on and noticed, that people who are swingers, for the most part, are very confident people.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be,
And
because
secret
you're
sauce.
going to be at a party where there's going to be a lot of attractive people. You're going to be at a party where people are going to be looking sexy and wearing, pretty attractive things or things that make them look and feel sexy. So, from a
Hmm.
confidence standpoint, it does wonders for men and women in these type of environments and situations. And listen, it's everything, because if you're shy and you're going to one of these parties, you're at the wrong place.
That is so
Or,
true.
or listen, or maybe not. Sometimes that might be the experience that flips the switch on for some people. I can I've never been to a swinger party or anything like that, but I've seen women and men who don't necessarily look like cover girls or GQ models, but who have that, as the French say, that je ne sais quoi, that little extra something, and you're like, damn, he's sexy as hell. Like,
Hmm.
I would never date him in a million years if I just had to go by what that person looked like on the outside. but just that confidence, or the way that person came to me and talked to me in such a way, like it just lit the fire under me. And being a natural introvert, I know most people would never believe that, but it's the truth.
Lies.
No. I'm really truly an extroverted introvert. And so, or ambivert, whatever you want to call it. But, I always used to be like tongue tied with men, even like starting over. I felt like I was back at 15, because I really didn't have game back in the day. And I still don't really think I do, but sometimes I fake it till I make it. But when
Okay,
somebody
Drizzy, I hear you.
yeah, exactly. But when somebody walks up to you and makes you feel sexy, you know what I'm saying? Like they perceive you as that, it really does help you to feel it yourself,
Oh,
or
it makes a big difference. And in
yeah,
that world,
yeah.
that role
Yes.
But not
that
even
is
that
something that a
work.
lot of people seek.
Yeah,
And
but even anywhere, like if you would approach your partner, for the one, the young lady on Facebook who said, what do you do about your stunted sex life, or what have you? Like sometimes just go in there with a new persona, bring out your Sasha Fierce, or whoever your secondary persona is.
yes, honey.
Flip the switch on your man. If you the type to always do it with the covers on, throw the covers off, put the lights on.
Yes.
Come out
And
with your sexiest robe or something.
I
Or
tell
dim the
everyone,
lights and bust out those lingerie.
yes, I tell everyone at least have sex with the lights on at least one time.
Right.
That way you can see and look up at your partner. Get that eye contact while you're doing whatever. You know, make that eye contact, reach inside their souls, let y'all souls match.
That's right. Like
I
shake
mean, and,
things
and
up for
like you just
yourself.
said earlier, I mean, confidence is so sexy. It don't matter. I mean, I I have I hate clothes. Okay. I hate clothes. When I come home, I said my partner probably he likes to see it probably turn him on when I'm fully dressed.
Because
I hate clothes. My brother went out of town and him and his girlfriend brought me back this thing. I hung it on my door. It says please knock because I'm probably naked, or something.
Yeah.
But but I
I
am I
love it.
mean, and I walk like that, and I ask him all the time. I was like, I'm sorry. I said, I mean, don't let me come home and take my shower as soon as I get home. I don't have on clothes. I just walk around. And look, that's a whole nother
Please don't
show.
just drop in on Nakima. Then
Yes.
her family
But
and
if
friends
you
will
do, you've been warned.
You
So
cannot unsee what you just saw.
that's right.
Oh,
Nik- But
But
Nakima, it has been a pleasure having you on, and we definitely want to circle back. We'll have to do a part two with this because this is
yes,
obviously something that single people, married people, people that are dating, we all have to deal with.
yes.
But we thank you so much for bringing your expertise to our
yeah.
podcast, and we will definitely have to do a part two on this.
Well, thank you all so much for having me. And if anyone is interested in just seeing what it's like, want a consultation, please feel free to call me at 704-669-8296, or you can email me at pleasure, PLEASURE, principles, PRINCIPLES @gmail.com. And it was such an honor to be on this podcast with you all. I look forward to working with you all again.
Listen, well, we are so excited to have had you today. This was really awesome conversation. And hope we broke the ice out there for some of you who are looking for ways to bring back the love and, maybe just free yourselves. But
Yeah.
Nakima, one more time, we want to make sure we get this for our show notes. How can they contact you? Just one more time.
Okay. 704
Uh-huh.
669 8296.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can email me at pleasure, PLEASURE,
Mm-hmm.
principles, PRINCIPLES @gmail.com.
Okay, we're gonna make sure we get that on there. And if you need just some bedroom candy, I guess
Yes,
I
I
can
am your
contact you for that as well, right?
consultant. My website is bkparties, parties.com/9772. But feel free to reach out to me, or if you need to know any more about toys, you want to get into learning more about yourself, your partner, how to please yourself, your partner, just let me
Awesome.
know. Thank you.
A great conversation. So until next time, everybody, if you have show ideas for us, you can, of course, do like a lot of our listeners have been doing, going to our Facebooks at Jorge Medina, Jorge, and Nelsa Weber. Also, check us out on our website at www.therelationshipcycle.com. We've enjoyed our conversation today. We look forward to getting you and your relationship cycle back on track, or back on if you've if you've been off. So until next time, everybody, take care.
Buenas noches, people. Have a good night.
Buenas noches.